There you have it. The BMW M5 has beaten the Porsche Panamera GTS in the quarter mile. And that's not a big surprise considering the BMW has 2 turbochargers, 130 extra horsepower, and a boatload more torque. But let's take a closer look at the drag race. Off the line, the Panamera GTS's superior all-wheel drive traction gives it an advantage over the M5's rear wheels only power delivery. Once the M5 gets traction, it gets ahead of the Porsche by about 60 miles an hour. At the end of the quarter mile, the M5 is nearly 3 car lengths ahead and pulling hard as it crosses the finish line in 12.4 seconds at 114.2 miles per hour. The Porsche completes the quarter mile in 12.7 seconds at 107.2 miles per hour. So the most annoying thing about drag racing the BMW M5 is that it comes with the world's most complex launch control procedure. In fact, I'm not really sure how it works. I know you turn something off and put this in drive and hold it, but luckily my colleague Carlos Lago on his Ignition show went through it step by step. So I'm just going to play that because it's actually pretty handy.
Dual clutch automatic, which means we also get launch control. Now here's how it works. Put it in manual mode. Make sure it's on the harshest shift setting.
Okay.
Turn off stability control.
Off.
And here's where it gets tricky. You have to apply the brake with your left foot.
Okay.
Hold the shifter forward, then apply the throttle.
Oh, okay, that's not so bad after all. Let's give this a shot. All right, here we go. Oh, nope, that wasn't it. Okay, so we're in manual mode. Okay, here we go. Oh man, this thing launches. The Porsche, on the other hand, is far easier to launch. Hit the Sport Plus button, left foot on the brake, right foot on the gas, and there's your launch control. Sidestep the brake pedal, and you're off. But of course, numbers are just part of the story, and in my mind, a small part. Driving is what these two mighty Germans are all about. So, we headed up to the twisty, depopulated, alpine-like roads near Big Bear Lake to see which super sedan is really the best. So now we're in the Porsche Panamera GTS. What is the GTS? Well, like all Porsche GTSs, it's the best of breed. It's the sportiest version of this car. Now, it's true you could get a Panamera 4S and put a lot of the go-fast options on it, but then you'd be at about $130,000 compared to the GTS's base price of $111,000, which is still an obscene amount of money. However, there's a couple features you get on the GTS that no matter how much money you spend on the 4S, you can't get. One of them is the PASM, and that's Porsche's acronym for the air suspension. It sits 10 millimeters lower in this car than any other Panamera, and when you put it into Sport Plus, it drops an additional 5 millimeters. The other thing that makes the GTS different is the engine. Instead of the 400 horsepower you get in the Panamera 4S, you get the camshafts out of the Turbo S for a total of 430 horsepower. And it sounds so sweet. It's just such a good sounding engine, especially compared to the M5. Now let's move on to the more tangible things, namely handling. This car is so sweet. I mean, we've always loved the Panamera here at Motor Trend, but this GTS just takes it to a whole nother level. It rides so well. Porsche's done such a good job with the air suspension. And then you've got the PDCC with PTV Plus, which is Porsche's insane way of saying it has active anti-roll bars and a torque vectoring rear end, which makes a humongous car like this not only easy to place where you want it, but fun. This car is actually fun to drive. And it's got incredible steering. Now, normally you'd think that an M5, a rear-wheel drive car, would have way better steering than an all-wheel drive car like this Porsche, but it's just not the case. And it's really hard to do good all-wheel drive steering. I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of like Subaru with the WRX and Nissan with the GTR. They do pretty good all-wheel drive steering. But aside from that, really it's Porsche that does it with the 911 Carrera 4S. And then you've got this GTS, which is as good. I mean, this is just a really fun car to drive. notice that our M5 here is the color of lava, which makes sense once you realize that its engine is a volcano. This thing is nuts! I've driven slightly detuned versions of this motor, the S63 in the BMW X5M and X6M. And even those things, which are whales, move like bullets. In this car, it's just nuts. I mean, I can't tell you how often you look down thinking you're going about 60 and you're going 110. It's crazy. Part of the reason for that, though, is that this car, the 5 Series F10, shares a chassis and suspension components and things like that with the 7 Series and with the Rolls-Royce Ghost. So it's very luxurious, it's also very heavy, and there's a lot of sound deadening. In fact, there's so much that BMW had to pipe in engine noise through the stereo. That's right, they pre-record the engine note at various RPMs and play it through the stereo. And if you floor it, you can kind of hear it, but it's just not very loud. And so you lose the sensation of speed. Sometimes on a long trip, that's okay, but really, I want to hear the car. Back to that engine for a second. It's just so fast. Like, think about it. It makes 560 horsepower. The competition, the AMG, you're talking 518 horsepower. Okay, you pay $7,000 more for the power pack, you get 550. The Cadillac CTS-V, 556. The Porsche Panamera Turbo S, 550. The upcoming Jaguar XF RS, that's going to be 550. And Audi doesn't even have anything in its league. Now, this is a head-to-head, and we need to talk about how this car is better or worse than the Panamera. And I'm going to tell you, I really like this M5 a lot. However, there are a couple things it does worse than the Panamera. The ride isn't nearly as good. The Panamera is running around on air suspension. This has the rear subframe directly bolted to the unibody without any bushing. So it's harsher, which is good, but it also, the back just isn't as composed as the Panamera is when you're going through turns. And speaking of turning, you know, it used to be that M cars were known for their way they turn, their smoothness, the precision, the feel. This, I'm getting a lot of engine vibration piped into the steering wheel, but I'm not getting a lot of actual feedback. And not only that, the steering just, it isn't as good as I want it to be. Now, like everything else, it's adjustable. You get 3 modes, you get Sport Plus, and you get Comfort. Forget about Sport and Comfort. They're both sort of vague, with Comfort being really, really vague. Sport Plus is more accurate, but it's artificially heavy, which I'll take given the choice, but I wish there was like a perfect option, because there should be in an M car, and in this one there just simply isn't. But man, I really do like this thing, I gotta tell you. This is a 1972 BMW Bavaria, and it used to be the German idea of a sports sedan. Light, nimble, undercomplicated. Maybe not the fastest thing in a straight line, but you were able to maintain full momentum while going through turns. Things have changed. Both of these bruisers weigh over 4,400 pounds and have more wiring than a suspension bridge. However, only the M5 is made worse by adding complexity. Those familiar with M5s of yesterday, specifically the top-shelf E39 version, will be disappointed at the super sedan's transformation from a chisel to a hammer. A fast hammer, yes, but a blunt instrument all the same. The Panamera GTS, on the other hand, drives smaller than it is. It's much more of a precision instrument. While thirsty, its naturally aspirated engine had no trouble keeping up with the twin-turbo BMW, even at over 8,000 feet of elevation. And while it's not as outright quick on a drag strip, the Porsche gets out of the hole faster in the real world and will honestly win most stoplight-to-stoplight races. The BMW is rear-wheel drive, yet the all-wheel drive Porsche has better steering feel and is simply the better of the two cars to drive.